Hi everybody, this is Tor Storley and I am back with another video. In this fifth video in this series, we'll take a look at some ways of creating different modes, meaning in the CLI, how you can look at things a little differently. We'll also look at how you can make sure that you see all the rows in the table that you're working with. Maybe not all the rows, but at least to a certain extent. So, and the final one probably will be to try to query some log files from GitHub and see how we can manipulate those. So that's the purpose of this video, and let's get started. DuckDB is very clever. You can say things like this: from stock, select distinct symbol. I mean, that's totally opposite what you normally find in any relational database. Without any chance of anything else, you will have to say select distinct symbol from stocks, which is really bad because the way any relational database really solves query is to start from the from stock statement. So it's really backwards in the way it has evolved. You should not say select distinct symbol from stocks. You really should say from stocks, select whatever, because that should be the source. And in relational database, that's how it typically has happened. But all right, so in DuckDB, they are thinking outside the box. So they say from the database or database table, select the particular column. All right, and there it is. And you can see I have three different symbols in that table. Now, why do I show you this? Well, I wanted to kind of touch base on the mode, because the mode is kind of important when you run in the CLI. There is a command you can run. It's .help.mode without semicolons. And when you do, you can see here, they give you a list of different outputs they can give you. And what I want to do next is I want to just run through a few of those so you can get an idea what they will look like. So here I'm going to say, hey, why don't you give me from that table, why don't you give me a CSV file? All right. So notice what it does. It gives me the headers. It gives me a bunch of, quotes around the, and the reason, okay, I should be specified, this is not normal. The way I loaded it with a quote mark. And that's why I see three of them here, because the middle one is really important. You put quote inside the quote that is really part of the text, and then another quote. So this is not a good way of looking at it, because this is my fault, not DuckDB's. But notice it produces all the other values here in a comma-separated file because it's a CSV. Okay, so here I'm saying mode Markdown. Now, Markdown is a very popular language in R, where it put like certain symbols around the text, and it converts it into HTML-looking type of things. So if you look at this one now, and I hit enter, so here you can see it created a table of Markdown. All right, let's try another one. This is a list. And as you can see, it doesn't look like a list to me. All right, here is another one you can use. And I'm just showing you these because these comes with the CLI. So this is insert statement. So I added the stocks table name to it because I wanted to say insert into stocks. I didn't want to see the word table. So if you have a table name, put it after the insert statement, and then it will reflect it here, and you will see that insert into whatever your table name is called. But it gets the columns right. Symbol, timestamp, open, close. Now it might have some additional quotes here and stuff. And here's the values because I only selected 2 rows. So, okay, it's pretty basic to me, but okay, it's okay. Now, Another thing I want to show you is that when you work in this CLI here, you can set the different modes. And here is a duck box. But what I didn't show you was that I can also say, hey, how many rows do you want to see in the output? Because a lot of times it cuts it off in the columns and it cuts it off in the rows and it only shows a certain amount. And that's kind of annoying sometimes. So here I'm saying I want to see at least 10 rows. So that's kind of, in this case, because the stocks table has more than 10 rows, it will basically use an equivalent to the select star from the table name limit 10. In this case, it will only show 10. So notice what it does. It shows you 5, ... and another 5. Because this has 72 rows, which is more than 10. So you can use this mode to limit it as well as any limit clause. So the next one I want to show you is I'm going to bring it back into the box mode here. The one I used was DuckBox, and somehow it reacts to the different versions of the mode and resets the max counts. Why do I want to do that? Well, because in this case, I want to set it to as many columns as I have. And I give it upwards of 100,000 rows, which I don't have, but I want to see all my rows. So I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to say, get me all the records from that stock table. So I'm just going to say from stocks, and notice there's no gaps now. Every row is shown. I want to get some data from the internet. In order to do that, you can use this HTTPFS, which is HTTPF file system. And if you haven't have it installed, you have to write the word install HTTPFS. And it will go into wherever your DuckDB is, and then you can load it from there. Much like you do in import statements from Python. All right, so I got that one. Now, what I want to do, I want to show you something. There's something called a sniffer program in DuckDB, sniff CSV. Now, my file is a log file. I just randomly chose this file because I thought it looked interesting with some timestamps and stuff. But it's not really a CSV file. But notice what I'm doing. I'm saying sample size 1000. And I just want to sniff it. And when you sniff it, you get back what it sniffed for. So it thinks the delimiter is a semicolon, but I know it's not. It's a pipe column. So it tries to sniff out what it has headers and so forth. So behind the scene, I think the C++ code is trying to determine what the structure is and so forth. Now, if I want to look what I'm working with here, I want to show my database. And in this case, it's stocks. Yes, now we're in the memory. I want to create a table, a temporary table, because I want to be in memory. So when I shut this down, it will go away. And I want to create a timestamp, step, ID, and action. And those are the column names that I think my file has. I'm not sure, but I'm just making them up. I think the timestamp is pretty obvious, but the rest of them are not. So I'm just going to create a table out of that, and I'm going to make it out to my own column. So what I'm going to do then is, and this is the query I'm going to use that I spent some time on. So let's review this query. I'm going to go against some data on GitHub. I queried this data out of there, and what I want to point out is that it's separated by these pipes. You see that? I assume this was some kind of ID on the iPhone. I assume this was a kind of step they are looking for or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So I have this query that I built as a CTE where I say select everything as a log line from this, and I make it into a CSV, even though it's a log file, so it's a text file. But because of that structure I just showed you, it looks like it's separated by pipes. But I don't want all the data back, so I'm saying only 1,000 records is fine. Then from this one, what I want to do is I want to select a string split log line. Why? Because I want this column to be split into 4 columns, not 1. And I know it's pipe delimited because we just looked at that. And then finally, I want to insert it into some kind of temp table where I select, and here is some other DuckDB code that is you're not that necessarily familiar with. It's like a string time, and you're passing in this log parts, which is coming from the above query. And because it's like a list, I want it to have the first one here. And then I want the format to be this: year, month, day, hour, minute, seconds. And then I want to call it as timestamp. Then I want to get some additional columns from this string split. Number 2, number 3, number 4. And I want to give them some names like you see. And it comes from this CTE log, which is the second CTE in this series of CTEs. The format string for the str that I did before, the strp time. This is what it means. So you can say it's the 4-digit year is the percentage Y, percentage M is 2-digit month, percentage D is 2-digit day, percentage H, 2-digit hour, so it's in a military format, 24 hours a day, and percentage M is minute, percentage S is second. And this F is a microseconds in case you have any. So I don't think we did that. Okay, I just want to show you that so you know where I'm coming from. Now let me paste this in. I'm just going to say, get me all the records. And here they are. These are the records I just inserted, and that's perfect. The last thing I want to show you then is how can I use this data and format it into different groupings, meaning different time buckets. So I want to take all the timestamps and put them into a bucket level type of query. So I want to go by minutes, hours, and day. Notice what I'm doing. I'm grabbing the actual timestamp that you see up here, formatted into some kind of interval. So it's based on a minute, it's based on an hour, and it's based on a day. So basically what it would do is truncate each section. So it would truncate the seconds, minutes, and it would truncate the hours to put in the right bucket. And that's called a time bucket. And I want to grab it from that temporary table we just created. But I don't want so much data. So I'm filtering here by this step LSC. And then I cast the timestamp as time. And the reason I'm doing that is because I only care about records that are generated after 10:30 in the evening. So 2200 is military time for 10 in the evening. 30 is, so it's 10:30 in the evening. And then I want order by timestamp. So that's what I want to see. And when I run that now, you can see I'm only getting 23 rows. If you like this video, give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. That'd be great. Have a great day, great night, wherever you happen to be in the world. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.